Welcome back to Georgina Connects, a show all about connecting you with the social services and organizations that support Georgina. I'm your host, Michael Gardner-Davis, and on today's show, we're going to be talking all about Hospice Georgina. We'll be chatting about the programs and services they have to offer, as well as where they plan to go into the future. All this and more on today's show. Don't go anywhere, Georgina. Our first guests today are some of the frontline staff at Hospice Georgina to chat with us about their programs and services. Joining me are Cassandra, the Client Care Coordinator, Victoria, the Program and Outreach Coordinator, and Caitlin, the Intake and Volunteer Coordinator. Did I get all your titles correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
There's a lot to say, but thank you so much all for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Of course. So can you tell me a bit about yourselves and your organization?
Sure. So my name is Cassandra Sinopoli-Lombardi. I am the Client Care Coordinator with Hospice Georgina. And we all kind of work together in our roles. So typically what could happen is I might receive a referral from a client in the community who is either a caregiver, has a life-limiting illness, or is looking for some grief support. And depending on what services they're looking for, I might just go ahead and give Victoria the referral for the programs, and then Caitlin the referral for any visiting volunteer intakes. And then I myself support the people who are grieving.
Incredible. Mm-hmm. And Victoria?
So my name is Victoria Vass, and I run the programs at Hospice Georgina, as well as the outreach. So we have a bunch of programs almost every day. We have support groups, we have a cancer support group, a Parkinson's support group, and a caregiver support group, as well as we run day hospice every Wednesday, coffee and chats on Mondays, and different art therapy groups.
Incredible. And Caitlin?
Yeah, so my name's Caitlin Meyer, and I have a new role here at Hospice that's kind of just been up and running. And like Cassandra mentioned, my main role in this position is to kind of oversee and manage our visiting volunteer service, where we go in homes of clients that need social support, and our volunteers have a visit with them and do some activities. And I also manage our volunteer onboarding as well.
Incredible. Victoria, can you explain to me how some of your programs work in a little bit more depth?
Yeah, so a lot of them, the focus is really getting people out of their homes to socialize, wellness, to share with others with similar experiences. And so I brought a few things here for an example. This is from our paint classes and our creative therapy and our day hospice program. So here you can see we planted some flowers and they painted their pot. There's a candle made in a teacup, and then this is our paint class painting, and then that's like a funky kind of different style painting. So this is our most popular programs because people just really seem to like to get creative, and we supply all of the things that they need to make them, and everything's free.
Absolutely. No, that's incredible. And can you tell me a little bit about the coffee and chats that you have?
Yeah, so that's every Monday morning at 10:30 to 12, and it is in our hospice programs room. We call it the Cozy Corner, and you can come in person, or you can come in on Zoom.
Incredible.
And it really is just an hour and a half of socializing, getting to meet people in the community, sharing your week, sharing, your ups and your downs, and just making new friends. We've seen a lot of friendships blossom.
Absolutely. Combating that social isolation, especially with our senior demographic, is so, so important, but also with caregivers in general. Mm-hmm. I mean, a lot of their life can be isolating as well. Cassandra, could you tell me more about the grief supports that you offer at hospice?
Yeah, absolutely. So we support both children and adults. Children get 16 free sessions, adults get 12. We are really advocating for a lot of sessions for our clients because it's important for us to build that relationship with them and kind of stop them from having to repeat their story over and over and over to different support workers, right? So it does allow them to kind of explore those dark crevices of grief in one safe space with one safe person, which is really nice. So yeah, within our sessions, we create a care plan. So the care plan identifies client goals. Maybe they want to develop coping skills. Maybe they want to practice better self-care or just have more education around grief just generally. So yeah, we focus our sessions based off of the goals that they identify, and we kind of work through and talk through some of the challenges that come with grief and bereavement.
That's incredible, and that's such an important support, especially here in Georgina, because off the top of my head, I can't think of where else I'd go for grief support, right?
Right.
Absolutely. No, that's huge, and it's great to know that it's available for youth as well.
Yes, absolutely.
That's something I had no idea about, and that's definitely pivotal because people of all different ages deal with grief. And they all deal with it in different ways. Exactly.
And different age groups deal with it in different ways too, right?
Yeah.
So it's important to understand how each person, developmentally, will kind of process through those emotions.
Yeah, it's great to know that you're offering support to all ages here in Georgina. That's incredible. And Caitlin, can you tell me a bit about the visiting aspect to hospice?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, you mentioned that isolation that some people feel and how it's so pivotal to find ways to come around that. So for people who maybe can't get out to the programs, we have volunteers. They're amazing, and they get matched with a client in the community. And the volunteer will actually go to their home or whatever their residence is. It can be a long-term care home or retirement facility, whatever. And they spend a few hours with that client each week, and it provides them that social outlet. And it also provides them some enrichment, so we can kind of tailor the experience to each client. So if they love art, the volunteer can bring some painting or crafts. If they love games, they can bring some bingo or some cards, whatever it is. So it's a really great outlet for them. And on top of that, it provides some caregiver respite as well, which is so important. And sometimes I think you don't kind of connect those two, like, oh, we're having a visiting volunteer for a family member, but it also is helping that care partner as well, which is so important to give them that little bit of relief.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So what does it look like for your volunteer onboarding process? Who are you looking for and what do they need?
Yeah, so I mean, we're looking for anybody who really just wants to kind of make that difference in the community and get out, and maybe that's their social outlet as well, to come be a volunteer, right? And they can apply through our website, and we kind of get that form. They can come into the office, fill out a form, and then from there we just go through the process. Police check is required, a volunteer interview, and then we kind of have an orientation session with them once they finish the training, and then they're good to go.
That's incredible. No, that's great to hear. And then similarly on the client side, could one of you tell me about the client journey almost of starting out as a client of Hospice Georgina? Say somebody walks up and wants to get started. What would that really look like?
Well, it really does depend on what they are looking for. And sometimes they're looking for multiple services, right? So I might receive a referral, contact them, ask them, what kind of things can we offer you? And they might say, well, I'm really trying to manage the grief that I'm going through, but I'm also looking for an outlet. I'm also looking for some kind of creative outlet. So I'd be like, no problem. Victoria's a great person to talk to in that way. And then we can also deal with your grief and bereavement too, right? So then they get connected with Victoria. Victoria tells them all about the awesome programs. They get to choose the ones that they would like to attend and kind of take it from there. And the same thing kind of happens with all of us in all of the different roles that we have too, right? Like whoever kind of can offer the support that the client needs, we'll always direct them to them.
That's incredible. And so Victoria, with a lot of the programs that you're supporting here, is there eligibility cutoffs? Are there specific people that you're looking to support? Is it open? What's the situation?
Yeah, so we do an intake process, and then that's Caitlin or Cassandra or myself, depending on what they're looking for, right? So with programs, we welcome caregivers, we welcome people going through the grieving process, as well as people with a life-limiting illness. Right. And I did want to mention too, a lot of people don't reach out to us because they can't get to us. We have volunteer drivers. I myself will pick people up. We want to bring people in, and we want people to be able to get to us.
That's incredible to hear, especially the fact that you're making it accessible, and doing it yourself is so kind. But I mean, you sound like a great program coordinator and a great support, all of you, for your clients and the Georgina community as a whole. Could you tell me more about the Parkinson's support group?
I'm going to throw it over to Caitlin.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm the current facilitator of that group. So our first meeting was only last month, so it's brand new. And we're still really, always welcoming new members to that. So that group's actually in affiliation with Parkinson Canada, which is really, really awesome because it means members have the access to all of the resources that Parkinson Canada has. And as a facilitator, I can reach out to their staff and they can give me, proper, accurate information that the members want. Our next meeting is actually this Thursday. They're every second Thursday of the month from 1 to 2 p.m. And really we wanted to kind of bridge a gap because the closest support groups for Parkinson's was Newmarket and then Barrie. So
Wow.
There was really nothing in this area for people that are going through a diagnosis or for their care partners as well. So it's for care partners and people that have been diagnosed. It's just a group where you can kind of just talk about how things have been going. Maybe you can share resources that have been really helpful for you that somebody else will find really helpful to them as well.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And so from any of you, have you seen some sort of barriers for clients that you've been able to support with or that maybe you're looking to tackle in the near future? Anything that sticks out to you? Challenges, roadblocks, anything like that? I know you mentioned transportation, but is there anything else that's kind of, maybe could have stopped somebody from accessing your services that they didn't know about otherwise?
Yeah, I guess getting the word out can be challenging. My part is outreach as well, and we're pretty limited to kind of where we can put a sign or where we can kind of show up and tell people what we're doing. And we do have this issue where it's Hospice Georgina.
Right.
People either don't know what it is or they're scared of it.
Misconceptions.
Yeah, and it has kind of a negative connotation to a lot of people. I think it is changing, and we want to kind of reduce that stigma because it is a very positive environment. I see Cassandra helping so many people, Caitlin, at the programs. Everyone's so happy and laughing and making friends, and we want to bring that light to hospice.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, if the energy at your office with your clients is anything like what you've brought to the studio today, it sounds incredible, genuinely incredible. And thank you all for doing all of that great work with the folks of Georgina. What else can people do to get involved? Clients, volunteers, anything like that? Where can they go for more information?
So they can visit us on our website. They can give us a phone call. They can just come into the office and chat with us. We have Debbie at the front, and she's super fun. You know her. So she's great to chat with, and we'll always tell you all about hospice.
Incredible. Well, after the break, we're going to be coming back with the executive director and a board member to talk about the future of Hospice Georgina. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Georgina Connects. With me is more from Hospice Georgina. I have the Executive Director, Lori Knapp, as well as the Board Chair, Mary Margaret Thorburn, to talk about the future of Hospice Georgina. Thank you both so much for joining me.
Thank you. Thanks.
Of course. So could you tell me a little bit about yourselves and what you do at Hospice?
I am the Executive Director, and I've been with Hospice Georgina since 2011. I started off as the office manager, and hospice is my heart. Everything we do for the community is so important. We provide, hope and compassion with people with a life-limiting illness and people who are grieving with their bereavement. We are celebrating our 30-year.
Congratulations.
Hospice Georgina started in a farmhouse in 1989, and then they came incorporated in 1994.
Wow. It's been a long road.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, and it's a very near and dear place in Georgina. It's a special nook of Georgina, I think, that supports a really great group of people. And what about you, Mary Margaret?
I am a retired teacher and interested in hospice from the point of view, I really didn't know what they offered.
Right.
We're in a position where we're a community hospice. We are not a residential hospice yet. And I think the thing that I am struck by is the community, the connections that make a difference in people's lives.
Absolutely.
And I started off as a volunteer on the board. Then I tried connecting with a client. So I've done a bunch of that. Everybody around, if you're breathing, helps with events like fundraising events because we are not for profit. And going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Going forward is a great place to pivot. So what is coming up for Hospice Georgina?
So our dream is to have a 5-bed standalone residential hospice. In York Region, there is 1.2 million people, and there's only 25 beds.
Wow.
We are always hearing stories, and our clients that we have too, especially our caregivers. There's no room in the local hospices. Sometimes they try to get a Matthews House in Elliston. Again, there's no space. And people are dying in the hallway at South Lake.
Right.
Because they can't afford to go into a long-term care to die, or
it's expensive. It very, is. Very expensive.
Yeah. So then when we look at the numbers in Simcoe, Muskoka, they have 85,000 people, but they have 45 beds.
Wow, that doesn't seem like a balance to me.
No, and it shows in the numbers over 10 years by someone dying in a hospice bed and not in a hospital bed saves $10 billion.
Wow.
So it's a lot cheaper.
B with a B.
B.
B with a B. $1 billion.
$1 billion in
that
10
is
years.
a lot of money.
Yeah, so I think that, it's $2 million a year. And so we're going to be starting a capital campaign soon. If you don't know, we have a fundraiser called Catch the Ace.
Right.
And all the money we raise through that is for our future residential hospice. We have raised just about $200,000 to date.
Wow.
But we need a lot more than that.
Of course, it's very expensive to do a project like this.
Yeah, so right now we're building our steering committee for the campaign. And we're going to be looking for someone to donate land.
Right.
And funding.
Absolutely.
And then once we have half the funding, we can go to Ontario Health and, show them that, we've done our campaign and will they match it? And then we can hopefully
put shovels in the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So how can people get involved with what you're doing, support what you're doing?
They can support by making donations, Catch the Ace.
Of course.
Maybe doing third-party fundraisers to help raise for a residential hospice. There's so many different ways.
Absolutely. And so here in York Region, we're facing a big challenge. I mean, there's an aging demographic, first of all, and the population is growing.
Oh, yes.
So these are really important, I'm imagining, for your intentions here. Why Georgina?
Well, we are North York Region.
Absolutely.
And we're hearing from, people in our community, their loved ones are most of the time being sent down to RCC. So that's the old Humber Hospital.
Wow.
At the 401 in Finch. And it's very difficult, especially if you're a senior, to try to travel down there to see your loved one.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's
and it should be in their own community.
It should be. Yeah. And that changes the life for the caregiver, the family as well, right?
Yeah.
They're important people in their lives. They want good care for them. So could you talk more maybe about the difference between a residential hospice and essentially what most people in Georgina will get right now, the hospital?
Do you want to go into that a bit? Because you just had an experience.
Well, it's I said I started out as a volunteer, and the interesting thing is there are different routes. I ended up being a client.
Okay.
Many times over in different groups. it's a totally different approach, even when you say, I want to die at home.
Right.
The atmosphere and the supports that are available in a residential hospice are totally different from being at home. And Lori said, I've had experience. My brother died about 6 weeks ago
I'm sorry to hear that.
in a hospital.
Right.
He wasn't in a hallway. I can be thankful for that.
That shouldn't be the standard, though.
No, but he was in for 28 days.
Okay.
And over a 28-day period, and I said I'd go anywhere, there wasn't a hospital bed to be had. A palliative bed
Right.
in a residential hospice.
That's awful.
And just last night, I was with a dear friend,
Yep.
and she's in her second week of being palliative in a hospital, and they too will go anywhere, and there isn't anything to be had.
Wow. So this is very clearly something that people are facing right now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My question is, for the folks that aren't familiar with what residential hospice is, what does that really look like for the folks that would get supported by it? How does it differ? What does being in a residential hospice bring that's so great?
Your room really isn't a room. It's kind of like a home setting.
Okay.
So there would definitely be a state-of-the-art bed. There are regulations and specs that the government says must be implemented.
Okay.
The doors are wide enough that you can push the person out from their bed into a garden or wherever the hospice is.
Wow. That sounds
And,
incredible.
There is at least one bed available for family to stay over.
And then they have like a full kitchen and volunteers. So like I went to a beautiful residential hospice out in Guelph recently, and they had everything.
Right.
They had a commercial kitchen, but they also had a kitchen just for the family. They had volunteers baking cookies, and it was Thanksgiving, so each residence was getting a Thanksgiving meal with their family. It was all decorated. It was just really, it had a children's room. So if you want to have some quiet time with your loved one, the children's room was decked out with everything to keep them busy.
Yeah.
And then the volunteers are there to help look after them.
That sounds like a home away from home.
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
there aren't hospital 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. hours.
Right.
And they know how to control the pain better than the hospitals.
Yeah.
I had a meeting with an ED at a residential hospice, and they said that they're doing such a good job. Some people are actually leaving because they're feeling so much better.
Wow.
For a couple more months.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible to hear that it's not always the place where they end up for the end of time.
Well, we like to talk about quality time. It's,
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
you know, there's no point in being here and being in such pain that you don't want to be here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's incredible. No, and let's say a little bit more whimsical here. In your dream for this residential hospice in Georgina, what's something that you really would love to see integrated into it?
Lakefront. So you can push them out of their rooms and they can see the lake.
That would be beautiful. It's such an aspect of Georgina too. I think that it would fit in so well.
Yeah, I think most of the residential hospices that are being developed now are really trying to get somewhere where there's a view and that the doors can open and that the hospital bed can be wheeled straight out.
Right.
If you go on Facebook, you can see a lot of examples. Somebody wanted to be with their horse for the last time. Well, the horse was there.
Wow.
Or they had rituals from their communities.
Yeah.
Right. Different traditions, cultures, that kind of thing.
Even during COVID, I remember a story about a granddaughter going to a grandmother's room. At that point, the doors weren't open, but they had a speaker on the inside, and they hooked her up so that the grandmother could hear the baby's heartbeat because the granddaughter was...
That's so sweet. Wow.
It's not always like, what's your last wish, we'll make sure it'll happen. It's just living life to the fullest till the end.
In a dignified way as well.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've sold me on this entire idea, and all I'm hearing from these stories is that these stories are missing from people in Georgina.
Mm-hmm.
That's really clearly a gap that you've sold to me, and I think that our community can look forward to as time goes on. Now, if people are interested in getting involved, supporting you, how can they reach out to you to find you?
They can call the office or email myself, or there's information on our website.
Incredible. Well, thank you so much, Lori, Mary Margaret, for chatting with us about the future of Hospice Georgina. Hopefully we'll see some change soon. Georgina, you've heard it here first. They're doing a lot of great hard work to make change here in Georgina. Don't be shy. Reach out to them and help out. That's all we have for this show. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.